Developer Naughty Dog has touched base on a potential The Last of Us Part 3, suggesting it would be exponentially harder to justify returning to the franchise going forward, even more difficult than the jump from the first game to the sequel. Naughty Dog on The Last of Us Part 3. Speaking with IndieWire, creative director Neil Druckmann explained that a possible new entry in the post-apocalyptic series would require it go through the same test as The Last of Us Part 2 did, which wasn't easy to get off the ground either. "I'll be a little vague and cagey as you can expect, but I think the test for whether or not to make a Part 3 would have to be a similar test to what we did with Part 2. With the first game there were no expectations and it was like we could do anything. But now that we've established certain characters and themes and processes, it felt like to justify making a Part 2 we had to do something not that fans would just be comfortable with, but do something that would match the emotional core we found in the first game. And without that, there'd be no reason to do a Part 3. Finding it with the sequel was much harder than it was with the first game, and going forward it would be exponentially harder to justify going back to that world and finding a way to vary things up. There's already so many things you've seen about the backstory, about how the outbreak happens, so we'd really have to figure out how to create a new experience that matches the emotional impact of these stories, and I don't know what that is. Currently. Will there be a The Last of Us Part 3? Who knows, but if the second game proves a success, and early signs in the UK at least show it to be just that, then we can't imagine Sony would want the series to retire anytime soon. Read our review of The Last of Us Part 2 here. Chilling Adventures of Sabrina fans were devastated this week when Netflix announced that the upcoming fourth season would be the show's last. Salt was further rubbed into the wound when the series creator revealed that they'd already started making plans for Part 5, which was set to feature a crossover with Riverdale. Now, as is the fashion when a network makes a decision fans don't agree with, a petition on change.org has been launched and is proving very popular. It reads as so: Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is an extremely popular show on the streaming service, Netflix. On July 8, 2020 it was announced that the show would be ending after its fourth season. We are petitioning to bring this back after its unfair cancellation and ask that it be renewed for a fifth season. The show is extremely loved by fans and we hope this petition can bring the show back from the dead. Soon after it launched, 12,000 people had signed, and now that number has snowballed to a massive 70,000 and is sure to rise from there. But might this fan campaign bear fruit? Sadly, the prognosis isn't great. Netflix has instant access to a ridiculous amount of analytical data from their service, meaning that when they choose to cancel a show, it's usually for good reason. On top of that, while shows cancelled on other networks are occasionally rescued, it's often by Netflix. So, appealing to them to save one of their own shows doesn't usually work. Even beyond that, there's a convincing theory that unless their series are Stranger Things and The Witcher level hits, Netflix tends to cancel them after approximately 30 episodes. None of that makes Chilling Adventures of Sabrina's cancellation any less tragic, though. It was a fun satanic romp with some great gags and cool performances, and it'll be a shame that the ongoing live-action story might not get a satisfying finale. The only tiny silver lining to all this is that the comic book of the same name is set to continue, so those truly invested in Sabrina's story can get some kind of ending.